What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue, and today's episode is something I'd been knocking the idea around in my head about for a while, but have gotten a fair number of comments about individual parts of my UI or just asking about it as a whole. So today I'll be going over how to make a custom UI and what add-ons I use to make mine. So remain seated and keep your arms and legs inside of the ride at all times, because you're about to witness the fury of the Red Rogue's crash course on custom UI design. A custom user interface is one of the best ways to enhance your gameplay experience and performance. Being able to fine-tune every single component of your visual display means the information you want or need is in the place that works best for you. There are also full-blown UI suites such as ElvUI, LUI, and dozens of others, but those have their own set of pros and cons versus installing multiple add-ons designed for each component of your setup. That's a topic for another day though, but it is something I might cover if you folks are interested. First, I'll go over a list of all the add-ons I use for my UI, so this will cover everything you can visually see on screen now, plus some other goodies here and there that are less noticeable. Oh, if you end up liking this video or if it's helpful to you, let me know in the comments below. I'm still working on growing the channel and I put up new videos every weekday covering both retail and beta content. If you like what you see on the rest of the channel, I'd infinitely appreciate any help in spreading word about the channel if you think my Shiba shenanigans would help any folks that you know or play with. This video is already going to be a lengthy one, so I might not throw as many puns or silly jokes at you guys like I would normally do, since I want to make sure this information is digested correctly and I don't want too many goofy distractions for once. Don't worry, they'll be back for the next video, I promise. That and this video took a very long time to get scripted and footage for, so I don't have quite as much time for fancy editing as normal, so I am sorry about that. Okay, so I'll go over the list of add-ons I use. There will be download links in the description, and I'll include timestamps in a comment so you can skip around to whatever add-on you want to see in action and how I set it up for the most part. I've done videos on a majority of these add-ons, and for a couple of those I'll be directly referring some of the videos because they were so complex they needed their own how-to-use video. So here's everything I'll be going over in this video. Bartender, E-Align, Tell Me When, Easy Frames, Khalil's Tracker, Nug Combo Bar, Move Anything, Weak Auras, Sexy Map, Titan Panel, Arc Inventory, Opie, Voodoo, Details, Pratt 3.0, Minimize Chat, Advanced Interface Options, Hiding Bar, and a secret one. Guess you'll just have to watch to the end of the video to see that one. Okay, so for the biggest one, Bartender. This is what I used to set up all my moves, bars, and keybinds. When you type in /BT to your chat menu, it'll bring up this setup menu for Bartender. Pressing unlock will let you see a green outline to all the elements of your screen that Bartender is able to alter. The first things I immediately disable are the Blizzard art bar, the bag bar, the micro menu, and the stance bar. Disabling these is as simple as ticking off the enabled box on each part of the menu related to the one you want to get rid of. All of these are basically fluff anyways once you start using other add-ons to track things, so just get rid of those for some freeing up of screen real estate, and it will let you more easily change the feel of your UI. You'll want to make sure this box up here is ticked for bar snapping, as it will help you keep things aligned more efficiently. As you can see, each bar section I have on screen is highlighted in green, so you'll know what to look at for each tab. I'll go through each tab for bars so you can see my settings, but for the most part, I set my button scale for all of my action bars to 0.9 and padding to 2. This lets them be closer together while taking up slightly less screen space. Bars 1 and 2 are 6 buttons each with 1 row, bar 3 is 5 buttons, and bar 4 is 4 buttons. I don't know why I started doing that, but to be honest, I just kind of liked the trapezoid type shape instead of the usual long rectangle that everybody seems to do, so I went with that. I also tend to keep a couple empty bars lying around portions of my screen, in case I have some items I'm just messing around with, or for other characters that might have a bunch of extra utility moves or mounts that I only use on specific characters because it matches their transmog or some other arbitrary / silly reason like that, which is what bars 5, 6, and 8 are for. Those are all 2 rows each with 6 buttons on each row. All the padding and scaling is the same across those as well, so 0.9 for scale and 2 for padding. Bar 7 is my stealth bar, so I keep that one disabled, but it has my entire stealth move set on it, so every time I pop stealth, it'll just swap to those. Basically, it just swaps out Ambush because of Sinister Strike, swapping for that, cause yeah. A trick I recently started using is just dropping the alpha level of a bar to 0, hence why you can't see bar 9 right now even though it's enabled. The reason I do this is because the only 2 moves I have on that bar are for using Stealth and Sprint, both of which I track with another add-on. So to do that, I just have the alpha setting at 0 so it isn't visible but still functions correctly. This is important because if you just disable the bar, when you log out and try to use it again, it won't work. So yeah, that's a nice little UI life hack I learned from fiddling around with this lately. And bar 10 is 4 rows of 8 buttons total just for consumables and random engineering crap. I'm probably just gonna get rid of this one soon enough though, as I can just make an Opie ring that covers all of this anyways and clears up more screen space. Oh, and the status tracking bar is your honor/XP/artifact power bar, and I keep mine at the bottom of the screen because I just don't want it in the way. I might eventually get one that goes the whole length of the screen because if you change the scale of this, it gets really thick and chonky, which is kind of weird. So I just leave it at 1.2 scale and center it at the bottom of the screen. My pet bar is really small since I just want it somewhere that it won't overlap the rest of my UI, so I put it at 0.8 scale and nestled it right above my bar 1 abilities. I also put my zone ability and extra action bars on the left-hand side of my UI because they're really big and in the way on the standard UI, like right in the middle of the frickin' screen, which is lame. So yeah, they're just moved down and over a little bit. Oh, and to set up key bindings with Bartender is amazingly easy, by the way. All you have to do is click the key bindings button at the top here, and then hover over the slot you want to set a keybind to, and then hit the key binding. Boom, super simple, super effective. The real trick to a nice looking UI is having a way to make sure it's all evenly spaced apart and, at least for me, to make sure it's symmetrical. To do this, I use eAlign Updated. Type in /align and a nice big grid will pop up so you can move your bartender components and scale them as you see fit. Very simple, very effective, and highly recommended. Another big thanks to Loken143 for letting me know about this add-on as it really made my OCD life so much better. Now for my cooldown tracking, which is all these boxes around the left, right, top, and center of my screen. For that, I use Tell Me When. I'll show you guys some of the examples of how it's set up, however, I'd highly recommend you watch my video I made on it since that topic alone is like 10 minutes to cover exactly how to use this add-on. I'll give you the really short version of it here though. To open up Tell Me When, type in /TMW in chat. This will bring up the interface, and if you've never used it before, you should have a gray box or 2 with a purple hand in the middle of your screen. Right-click on one of the gray boxes and it will bring up the Group Setup menu. To change the scale and layout of it, click on the Group tab in the bottom right. This will give you all the choices for how many rows or columns, what classes or rows this group will show up in, the scaling, spacing, etc. We'll replicate the left-hand side of my UI in this example, so we'll do 5 rows and 2 columns. I keep mine much smaller than what it starts at, so I keep it around 110% scale. Once you have the size and shape to your liking, move to the Icon tab and right-click whichever box you want to change first. For this one, I'll make a Sprint cooldown tracker, so I'll be clicking the top right box. You'll then change the icon type to Spell Cooldown. From here, we'll type in what to track. If you want to play it safe though, just open your spell book and drag the ability from the book into the what to track bar. From here, I change my opacity of not ready to 50%, I tick off the show timer text, and invert shading boxes, but that's up to your discretion of course. However, I like having multiple visuals and information to show me when a move is ready to be used again. You can also add sound effects or animations if you want, however I cover more of that in the full video of this add-on. I also cover how to make my Roll the Bones tracker in here too, so any fellow outlaw rogues out there, I got a full explanation of it there. The latest addition to my UI is the add-on Easy Frames, which just makes a nice clean looking unit frame. /Easy Frames will bring this panel up, and I didn't really change too much about this one. I like the classed colored health bars, so whatever player you target or character you're on will have their health bar colored to match their class. If you don't like that though, just tick this box here. I also prefer the use a light texture effect for the frames, as it otherwise doesn't quite match the rest of my icons. But that's really just personal preference. I also made all the frames scale to 1 instead of 1.2, which is what it started with, and that looks a little too big and kinda grainy in my opinion, so yeah. Changing that is super simple, just go through all the tabs here and set them to whatever size you prefer. I also set the font type to outline for all the names on each tab, and I turned my portrait style to default, which shows my character like it normally would on the regular UI. It'll automatically be on class icons, which is fine too, but again, preference, and choice is always nice. Another new addition to my UI is Khalil's Tracker. At least I think that's how you say it. If Khalil's watching, hopefully that's how I say your name. This is a very sleek looking quest tracker. It offers a lot of features like opening up your achievements tab, your quest log, and can have your quests filtered by multiple different settings. To open this, type in /KT config. To position this one, you'll have to use these offset sliders here, and max height changes how lengthy you want the UI to be for it. It has a scroll bar, so I keep mine pretty small. Admittedly, I kind of forgot exactly what I did to alter this to exactly how you see it, but I did change everything to the standard Blizzard font yellow to make it look more stock, and I dropped the opacity of the background a bit to make it less in the way. I did change the border at the top to the one-line version, as I didn't care for the standard Blizzard UI version. I also dropped the font size to 10 and set it to color the quests by difficulty and to wrap long text so it wouldn't concatenate it at the end. It can also tap into TomTom if you have that add-on installed, though I don't consider that technically a UI component, so that's up to you. It is pretty cool though that it can do that, so it might be worth doing if you already have the add-on installed anyhow. Next is my combo bar. I've been using Nug Combo Bar since Warlords of Draenor, and it has been updated so often that I've literally never had it break before. This add-on has a metric ton of / commands for whatever reason, but to open the interface, just type /NCBGUI. I haven't actually looked at this menu in literally years, so I think all I changed in the General tab was setting the scale to 1.2 and show always. I might be wrong though, because it has been literally years since I've edited this part of my UI. For global settings, I put Pretty Runes and 3D mode on. The colors for my combo bar are right here. I put yellow at 4 combo points and green at 5 combo points, so I'd have kind of a stop-go type visual effect since anything below 4 is red. Since I've been running Deeper Stratagem, I did make the number 6 combo point white, so it really stood out from the others. I'm not 100% sure how the 3D mode settings work, but here are my settings for that too. Glow white colored, glow arc shot, and void. That and I have use colors enabled, so that way it'll use the color settings from above. For all of the Blizzard UI components that I don't mess with, I use move anything to position them where I see fit. /move will open the interface for this add-on. This one is a little bit of personal preference for some things, but for the majority of components of my UI that you can see, I use this to move the player unit frame, all of my buffs, and my target's debuffs, also my target's target, and my focus as well. You'll want to do some digging on this add-on because man, you can literally move anything with it. But most importantly are all the unit tabs near the bottom. Things like player, player buffs default, player debuffs default, etc. These same types of settings will be available for your target, your party members, and your focus. Oh, and if you accidentally open a really big window like the video options game menu, just right click on the gray area and it'll go away. It honestly took me a while to realize that was a thing because I was always just using /reload and trying to do it again without accidentally clicking on it. Whoops. Oh, and this add-on is how you can get rid of or move that stupid giant talking head thing that always blocks your screen when it shows up during dungeons and quests. That option is under Achievements and Quests, and it is the Quest Talking Head frame. You're welcome, by the way, as that is one of the most annoying things in the standard UI, and now you're finally able to scale it down, move it, or just flat out disable it entirely if you want. But as you can see, this is only the list of things I've altered. The full list of things this add-on can do is insane, so definitely check it out. Weak Auras is another all-encompassing style of add-on, and it's something you'll really want for any dungeoning / raiding you plan to do. I have an entire video on Weak Auras as well, and it helps cover the basics of how to make things like my energy bar, for instance. To open Weak Auras, you'll type in /WA. I also highly recommend checking out wago.io, as that website is a huge repository for all of the Weak Auras you could ever think of. I also have a couple Weak Aura episodes covering a few topics, but seriously, this is another one of those super powerful, super complex add-ons that could take an hour to explain. So I don't want to waste too much of your time with multiple videos of the same content, so if you want the basics, I'll link that video that I already made up there, and you'll probably have to do a little bit of digging on this one. I don't really use it for much of the visual effects of my UI, but it does help with things like interrupt trackers, shroud counters, things like that, or just dungeon and raiding weakors that tell you all of what's going on. Up next is Sexy Map, which is a nice, slick-looking map add-on that you can make look wildly different. I made mine exceptionally simple as I don't like all the crazy special effects and whatever, and I made it into a square, which I prefer far more than the standard circle shape. To open Sexy Map, you'll either type in /Sexy Map, or you can just right-click on the map. I have mine scaled to 1.3 just because it's awfully small otherwise, and I disabled the minimap rotate because that just throws me off. The Borders tab is where you'll edit the shape and visual effects of the map. I made mine square and the border to 1.07 so I could see it behind the map to make it look relatively like the standard UI. I set the border texture color to the same Blizzard yellow as most of the fonts out there, again giving it that more stock look. For buttons, I have the tracking button and calendar button set to on hover to hide more things that I don't need until I'm actually going to use them. I set the opacity on the clock, coordinates, and zone text to 0 for their borders and backgrounds, just because I didn't really care how it looked. I also set all of their fonts to the exact same amount of 10, and centered them horizontally on the map and just adjusted the vertical position to what you see here. Again, that's up to you, but I think it looks better. If you do want your coordinates visible on screen, then you'll probably need to turn on the Enable Coordinates setting in the Coordinates tab. And Titan Panel. I love Titan Panel. It's a super simple heads-up display bar that you can customize to your heart's content. Honestly, this is another one of those add-ons that needs its own episode as there is so much you can change on it. This is one of the few add-ons I wouldn't bother typing in the command to open it and instead just use the interface tab on the menu because it's awfully long. /Titan Panel GUI control. I only use the top bar of Titan Panel, but if you want a bottom bar or multiple bars, those are options too. I have the skin on mine set to all black for the same kind of black transparent style as the rest of my UI. There are literal dozens of plugins for Titan Panel, so it's up to you to decide what you want to see at a glance. I have gold, bag, repair, performance, volume control, and clock set on my Titan bar. I love having the volume control option up there as it lets me tweak my audio without opening the menu. It's really awesome. This can also be used with tons of other add-ons out there, so if you want those up there, you can do it too. Seriously, this add-on is intense, and I'll probably eventually be doing a video on it to give it its full due diligence. Arc Inventory is another beefy add-on that I've talked about in one of my awesome add-on episodes where I covered 4 different bag UIs you could use. Opening it is as simple as typing in /arcinv config. All I did visually for this was change the opacity of the window tab and bars tab down to get closer to the opacity rating of my other add-ons. As far as separating things out like how my bags are currently, it's a bit more complicated. You click the edit mode button, which is the cogwheel on the bag interface. From here you'll see the available tabs with numbers on them. Clicking these will bring up an assignable rules panel as well as individual color editing for each bag section as you see fit. This add-on is a doozy to set up, and it even allows for custom rules that you can write yourself to make things your own way. For instance, I set up a rather poorly coded tab to separate all of my corrupted gear from all other gear. This is probably not the best way to do it, but Arc Inventory does have its own naming convention system in a sort of pseudocode way. I will include a link to some of the information on Arc Inventory. Seriously, this would be another add-on that takes hours to explain in full. But for those who want to separate out your corrupted gear in your bags, this is a way that does work. I'll post the formula on screen and in the comments too, so you can just copy and paste this into the rules section. To make your own custom rules, all you have to do is click on the red book icon and then add a rule. Once you add the rule, you will name it something in the description, and for example, the corruption one would just get pasted into the formula section. After you press accept, you'll be able to select one of these red numbered boxes in the bag system and choose the rule option and select the one you want it to apply. You'll want to assign it and make sure the status is set to enabled for this to work, by the way. This is another add-on that needs an entire documentary about it just to cover every nuance of it, but I recommend just fiddling around with it to see if it is to your liking. If not, and it's a little too complex, then you might want to check out that awesome add-ons episode I did on bags if you want some other really great options. While not a visual part of my UI that you can normally see, Opie has saved me so much screen space that it is definitely worth picking up. This add-on has an entire video on it too, of course, But the short version is you can use key bindings to make a ring show up on your screen that you can assign various items and abilities to. I use this for mounts, toys, world markers, utility abilities, engineering wormholes, teleportation items, and so much more. Use command /opie to open it, and then go to the ring bindings tab to set up your key bindings that you want to put your rings on. This works exceptionally well when paired with a Logitech G600 or any mouse with a third mouse button for your ring finger, since you can use that in conjunction with your other keybinds to get an extra set out of them. Making custom rings is super easy too. You'll just go into the custom rings tab, make a new ring or edit an existing one, and then choose what you want to add to it. You can also set which characters you want this ring to exist on, so for example on my main, I have a ring entirely for engineering wormholes, so he's the only one I want this to be available on since he's my only engineer. For damage meters, I prefer details, as it has, in my opinion, the most accurate tracking of the bunch. I also like how you can customize the fade in and fade out of it, as well as opacity and skins for it and all sorts of other stuff. Personally, I like having it very low opacity when my mouse is not hovering over it, and then at normal values when I do put my mouse over it. Doing this is easy, as you just go to the Window Automation selection in the Options tab and tick off Enable Mouse Interaction. For on hover, leave it at 1, and for no interaction, set it to whatever level you want it to be at when you're not directly mousing over it. I leave mine around 0.4-ish. Sometimes I'll change it to be a little higher or lower depending on the dungeon or how bright it is out. That's just something I like, but I thought it was a pretty cool feature, and it helps my UI look a little bit more open when I'm not using it. Pratt 3.0 is another great add-on to make your UI look better and your chat function better, as it allows you to select links from chat and copy them onto a clipboard. This is amazing when someone puts their Discord info into chat, and you don't want to type it all in and mess it up or anything like that. Pratt 3.0 also changes a bunch of other little things, but I like the disabling of most of my add-ons around the chat display to clean it up a lot. Minimize Chat is a nice add-on for when you don't want to be bothered or want to free up even more screen space. It's just a simple little minimize button like you'd have on a web browser. So when you're recording videos and stuff and you don't have to hide your chat behind a silly box anymore or worry about some horribly offensive comments being made in trade chat showing up in your videos or just while playing in general, yeah, it's pretty nice. Advanced interface options let you change a lot of UI elements that Blizzard removed the toggles for in Legion, such as chat fade settings, hiding guild names, setting your max camera distance, and tons of other stuff. This is a really solid add-on to have and has a lot of features you might not have even known existed that you can change now. The next one I should have mentioned sooner, as you probably now have 18 bajillion add-on buttons covering your minimap. Hiding bar is a nice, easy way to conceal all of those minimap add-on buttons and have them tucked away into a pop-out panel for your UI. A lot of add-ons have ways to disable their buttons, and even Sexy Map offers that as a feature, but sometimes you want the button to be accessible, just not covering your whole frickin' minimap. This add-on takes care of that quite nicely, and really helps clean up your UI even further. I just did a video on this one a few days ago, but to access the interface of it, just type /hiding bar. You'll need to make sure you have the box ticked off for grabbing minimap buttons, or this won't immediately catch everything. You also have to reload for it to catch it, so just as an FYI. You can also set the opacity and other options from this menu too, and it's pretty easy to use overall, so just give it a whirl if you need something like this in your life. Trust me, you probably do if you're starting to use a lot of add-ons and you don't already have something like this. And the last add-on, the most important add-on, the pièce de résistance, the coup de grace, the creme brulee donut of your dessert pile, I guess. Oh heck yes, Peggle. I used flight paths as often as possible for a while just so I had an excuse to whip out a game of Peggle. You can just type in /Peggle at any time to have some nice, simple fun while waiting for your raid group to form, the tank not to be AFK, or while waiting for those Pandaria world bosses to spawn, and immediately be one-shot while you weren't looking. I love Peggle. Totally not sponsored by Peggle, but man do I wish I was. Whew, okay, I think that's it. There are other add-ons I use, but not explicitly as UI add-ons, so I didn't want to make this video any longer or more difficult to put together than it already has been. I hope this was useful to all of you who had been interested in my setup or just interested in making your own UI from scratch. I have a ton of add-on videos on the channel, so most of these bigger add-ons that I mentioned here have their own dedicated videos already, so I highly recommend checking them out if you need any more insight on them. I'll try to link the playlist for them at the end of the video here. If this video was helpful to you, I would genuinely appreciate any comments, likes, subscribes, or sharing of the channel's content that you're able to do, as these videos do take quite a bit of time to make and put together, and I want to keep making more of them for as many members of the community as possible, and that's only possible thanks to folks like you. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.